make sure I record this, for heaven's sakes. And welcome again. It's a Wednesday morning here, but it is Thursday in Australia, where Kathy is coming to us from. And I can't believe your kindness in coming to us this early in the morning. I will let you tell them what time it is there.
It's 3 o'clock Thursday morning.
That's crazy. But I so appreciate you joining us, and you're absolutely awake.
Oh, my pleasure.
That's great.
No problem.
I'm going to turn the floor over to Kathy in just a moment. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background information. NTS, as I just mentioned, is a company out of Australia, and we've had great success with some of our students being employed by them. So that's kind of what this is all about. It's always good to get recruiters on our webinars to tell us exactly what they're looking for. Instructors and front office people can tell you all day long what the world is like out there, but it's much better for you folks to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and know exactly what companies are looking for, and to give you the confidence to go forward, because that's the main goal. When you invest this much time and energy, not to mention money, in an education, you definitely want to be employable. So NTS is a family-run business, which I personally truly admire, having had my own business for many, many years. It was set up initially in 2002 by two families. They're still classified as a small business, which another personal preference of mine. I think you have a much better opportunity to feel valued in a smaller business. This structure allows them to develop very intimate relationships with their staff. And just in speaking with Kathy, I know that that's a priority. I think that's excellent. And their main goal is retention of their typists. That is primo in my mind, myself. So many things in life today seem disposable, including people. So I really personally like that. And Kathy, I'll let you tell a little bit about your own story, but just to give you the tiniest bit of background, Kathy did start out just working like you folks on software programs and doing MT work. And she gradually became a team lead, and now she is the recruiting person for NTS. So well done. That's a great success story. And without further ado, I will turn this over to you. You all type in your questions, and when Kathy's done, I will start asking. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. My name is Kathy, and I am the Recruitment Officer in charge of recruitment and training for NTS, and I've been in this role now for 2 years. To tell you my story, I began working for NTS some 4 years ago now as a typist, after having worked in the medical industry for an immunologist and an orthopaedic surgeon, and from then working from home for 8 gastroenterologists. At NTS, I began my career as a typist, learning a different software platform and different rules and client rules to what I had been exposed to prior. I quickly worked out some income goals at first and worked out how many lines I then needed to accomplish per week, breaking down to per day, and that was my structure to earn a specific income I wanted. After 18 months, I was then offered a group leader position in the team I was currently working in, and after a year doing this role, I was then moved into recruitment and training, and was then in charge of recruitment and our training department, which is what I do currently.
Excellent. Well, and what can you tell us about the kinds of transcription scenarios that you folks do at NTS?
Yes, we concentrate on every medical specialty, so everything's included. All our typists, based on our default general rules, can basically type any specialty. We encourage the use of timestamps. We call them our best friends, basically, and that is not frowned upon at NTS. We prefer that to a guess. So you can, if you've never done cardiology before, for instance, you just put timestamps where you're not sure of a word, and that goes to our QA, which fills that in for you, and then on to the client. So we have great setups and great support network to be able to help everyone become a successful typist.
I think that's excellent.
So as you can see from the screen there, all you need to do is go to our website, and under our heading, which is employment, you'll find our online application form. That comes straight through to me, and then the application process begins. We also are actively having practicum students at the moment. We've got 3 in training at the moment doing their 100 hours with us. So we welcome our practicum students as well.
Excellent.
So we are quite involved with CanStripe, which is lovely.
That's great. So the other question I was thinking of, I think just by reviewing your website, it said that you had to have 5 years of minimum experience, but if they just apply online, I think that's going to go right to you anyway, and you're going to know that it's a CanScribe. Okay.
That's right. That's a general criteria. But every application is assessed on its merits, and if I need any further information, I will contact the applicant to ask for a resume or speak to them more about what they're looking for, and for instance, what they would like as, you know, in their career as an MT. So CanScribe graduates is an exception to the criteria rule there, because we have such a successful partnership with you people, and we know the content of your course. So we've got some great CanScribe graduates that have been with us for years now. So it's a really successful partnership.
Oh, excellent. Sandra's asking, is there a big difference between medical terminology from our way, let's say, on this continent to the Australians?
There is a slight difference. For instance, the Inscribe software platform we use does have dictionaries that we choose right at the beginning of training, which is our British Australian dictionary. So certain differences in words, for instance, orthopedic, we do the AE instead of just the E, little things like that, which we encourage you to add to your you know, if you've got a text expander or auto text, we get you to add those in, so therefore you're not having to worry about them every time you type them. But most of our girls are able to manage that transition very successfully, and it's just a matter of getting your dictionary set up properly, and then you're ready to go. It's all good, and spell check will underline that for you.
Good. Excellent. And so is that your platform? You folks work on MDAT or NScribe?
We do, definitely, yes.
Oh, and that's another bonus then, because we our students work on that within the course at least twice, and they do about 50 reports, I think, in there. So excellent.
Lovely. Well, that makes it easy, a bit more streamlined for you.
Right. And do you have like an online theory exam that the students will be taking when they apply at your website?
Yes, we do. First of all, the whole application process is once we send to you our confidentiality agreement for you to sign, then we get you set up in our software program. So we get you to install in the Inscribe program, and then there's a form to fill in to gain access to our typist website where all our rules live. And once you've got that, then the training material starts to be given to you by email. So we have some online training modules, and then once those have been finished, there is a pre-assessment, pre-training assessment to do. That's instead of a typing test. We don't tend to rely much on typing tests because I just think the nerves sometimes can, get in the way of typing up a file, in the correct manner and all the rest of it, and it just puts too much pressure on our applicants. So that's why we have such a comprehensive training program. So a little pre-training assessment, which all the answers are found in the typist website, and you do get 2 chances to answer those correctly. So we give you every opportunity to succeed there. And then we give you a choice of training hours. We've got 4 trainers that work full-time at different times of the day, and you choose which trainer you would prefer based on your availability, and then off you go. I put you in touch with your trainer, and then your trainer will take over, and it's a one-on-one training. So every time you're on, your trainer is on the other end.
Oh, super. And how does that work? Victoria is asking, are there any issues with hiring Canadians, or do we need
Not at
special
all,
working
no.
permits or visas?
No, not at all. Actually, it's actually it's a lot of a smoother process to hire our USA and Canadian typists, as opposed to our local girls that need a tax number and all the rest of it. But overseas girls, no, you don't need any sort of specific qualifications or whatever to start working with us.
And
It's
then
fine.
is everyone going to be an independent contractor then?
Exactly, we are. Yes, that's exactly right. So it's a production-based business. So you can earn as much as you want to, or at least as you want to. The only stipulation we have to make it viable for both NTS and yourselves is that we ask that you do 20 hours a week minimum, or 1,000 lines a week. So
Wow.
that, as you can see, is not a big ask, and a lot of our girls, obviously do more than that. And
Wow.
a lot of our girls also have another part-time job, and they do this part-time, but then they find later on that they tend to work for us full-time, because it's such a lovely place, to be, and there are so many incentives to do well and become a quality typist and a successful one, and then rise up the ladder like I have done. So there's opportunities within the company to grow and extend your career in this industry.
That's super. And I think that was true in my career as well. I tended to at the beginning go out and work at a place because that's what we did. And then and this is really a unique job. It's one of the first that really is work at home. And so I kind of didn't trust that at first, working for a company, because I was so afraid. And this was in Chicago at the time, and this was probably late 70s. And it
Excuse
was
me.
it was rather unheard of to really make good money and work at home. So I said, well, I'll work part-time and I'll see how it works out. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I quickly realized that I could make a lot of money doing it because I was fast and I had so much experience. And so, like you say, just trying it out, and she did that with me as well. She said, oh, well, go ahead and try it and see. I think you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
pleasantly surprised. So of course I ended up working probably 50 hours a week, but it was wonderful. But I think you guys giving people that opportunity that you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to work full time when you start out, then you do have an opportunity to see how that goes. And I've always said, if you aren't happy in your niche, think about something different. But I have a feeling you folks will be a great fit for lots of people. So,
Yes, our support network too is second to none in terms of, we once our typists, advance onto teams with their own pools of specialties that they'll be typing. They're not just left then after training's finished. It is a steep learning curve once you're in a team, because you are basically on your own. But we have so much support in place. We've got mentors. We have our training staff, which is always available for a quick question or anything like that. So, and we also Skype call, it's not something that you feel isolated at home.
That's
working. You know, there's lots of contact there, and the girls are just so friendly. It's just such a nurturing place, to be honest.
That's great. And I think that's kind of what's missing in many of the larger companies because they get so big that they lose their personality somehow and it
That's
becomes
true.
more rote than, than personal. And that's kind of a sad thing because
Yeah,
it is a hard job. And I think we all need that little, every once in a while, human contact is good. So,
it is, exactly. And the support and education that we offer is all designed to keep our typists. You know, the training is intensive, but it's very user friendly, and the whole idea is to, you know, train you, put you in a team, make you successful, and then you'll stay with us for as long as you can. So that's
exactly.
our aim.
And that's
Yeah,
a win-win for everybody because just being a
exactly.
business owner, it you invest so much time in training people, and then to have
We
a constant
do.
flux of people, it becomes counterproductive. So
Exactly.
it's not good for the company, and it's also not good for the people to continually, have new people. So
Yeah, that's right.
that's a hard thing. But Ria is asking if you can take us back to what you were saying about how you figured out the specific
Mm-hmm.
income. But I think, Ria,
Mm-hmm.
without going into too much detail there, basically,
Yeah.
we all do it that way. We see what we're making per line, per hour. We kind
Mm-hmm.
of figure that out. And then we do it on paper and go, this is how much I'd like to make. And then is
That's
that
right.
realistic? And how many lines would I have to do to get there? Don't you
Yeah,
think, Kathy?
exactly.
That's about
Yes,
the formula.
definitely. Yes, exactly. And we have an option where, you know, if you're earning a certain amount of money, you can actually put in a fortnightly invoice, which is every 2 weeks instead of waiting at the end of every month. So that was my big drive, you know, when I first started, is I'd like to be paid every 2 weeks.
Oh,
So then
great.
I made sure that I earned the required amount of money to be able to put in an invoice every 2 weeks.
Oh,
So,
great.
yeah,
That is
so
great.
that's another
Hmm.
little thing that's always handy. And you know, we work with our girls as well to give them production tips, how to be more successful, how to work smarter, not harder.
Mm,
That's a big thing for us. Putting in you know, anything that we need, like text expanders and anything that will help. I mean, I had a little notebook at the beginning where I wrote down my tricky words, and I had a section for every specialty that I was doing. And so my little book, I would look at that at first, and then got to a point where I didn't need my book anymore. So, but at the beginning, I was putting in, you know, 10, 11-hour days, and it's more to give me the exposure to my dictators, because the more exposure that you have, the more you develop your ear for their type of dictation.
right.
You know, lots of words are repeated. They have a certain style, the way they dictate, and the more exposure you have to them, the better you are. The faster then you get at your work, and the line count, it automatically increases.
Right. That's exactly true. And do you folks like have the new people start out like on one account and keep them on that account, or do they, kind of do all kinds of different accounts at
Mm-hmm.
first?
Well, at the beginning in training, we basically give them a variety of files. And by the way, we don't have practice files. We work on active files straight away. Um, so that's where we look at strengths and weaknesses and feel and ask, you know, our trainees what their preferences are as well. What
Hmm.
specialty do they like? What you know, what their background is? What have they had exposure to any particular specialties? And then we take that into account as well as, you know, feeling where their best fit would be. And then once we work out what their specialties are, they always have a primary specialty, and then they have another specialty which they would probably hardly see unless their primary specialty was running low in files. So
Hmm.
we always have that sort of backup. Um, and sorry, I've lost my train of thought then. So then they would start in a team on those particular specialties. So they're not working for a lot of specialties. It's 2 at the very most.
Oh,
So
good.
that's how we can get very, very good very quickly at what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good.
And you might have, one hospital, one department that you're, working in, and you will have a variety of registrars and different consultant dictators that might have slight different accents. You might have a Scottish accent or something like that you might have to train your ear around. So that's the challenge there. But, it's a challenge that's easily, overcome.
Right. Just like anything that we do in the course, because the more you do of somebody, obviously the better you get at that person. And
That's right.
yeah. And Sandra brings up a
And some
good
of the,
point. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no, you're right. I was just saying some of the difficult dictators become your favourite dictators
Exactly.
by the end of it.
That's true, because you become so proficient. And the one thing I
Exactly.
tried to stress too, in my dealings with folks over the years, is, don't panic too much, because you're eventually going to hear those words and phrases because it is so repetitious. I think
That's right.
medical transcription in general is one of the most repetitive um, jobs that you can have, just because there's only a certain vocabulary. Although I have had a few over the years that really made it interesting. They came up with words I just could not believe that they used in that setting. But pretty predictably, you can figure you're going to hear this and that in this section or this type of report. So
That's right.
yeah.
Exactly.
And Sandra brought up that, using a word expander, I'm really big on that. I'm a dinosaur at this point, and if I didn't have a word expander, there's no way that I could still be as productive as I am in the workplace, because just it would take me forever to type it all out and my hands would be done. I wouldn't be able to do it anymore.
No,
So,
I agree. Well, I was the dinosaur. I didn't use any text or word expander,
oh,
nothing.
wow.
So my wrists were actually getting quite sore by the time I was offered, the next role, which I gladly took, because it was less typing. So now I've only had my, text expander now.
Right.
Back then, I only realise now just how much more successful and more money I would have earned because of that. So it's a
Right.
very valuable tool.
It is, and the sooner that you start using it, the better off you'll be. I type very fast because I played the piano since I was 4.5 years old, and that's kind of what I think did it. I have no clue why I
Mm.
type so fast, but even that over time, I used to be able to
That's
type
right.
thousands of lines per day from scratch. And now to do
Mm.
that, it's a nightmare. So, just having the ability to use a word expander is just a tremendous boon, because I would not be able to be productive anymore. So I think
That's
it's a
right.
great
Yeah.
thing. Plus, it keeps you
Mm.
accurate. If you've entered that information correctly, that's the bottom line,
That's right.
correctly. But if you've
Mm.
entered it correctly, then you can't mess it up. You can't spell that wrong.
No, and you can rely on that as your,
Right.
most accurate way of,
Right.
presenting your quality files, because we always accentuate quality over quantity. So what we're at NTS is, when you get onto your team, it's not about bashing out as many files as you can because, you've got an income, goal that you want to meet. It's more about slow down, give us a quality file, and build on that, and then your speed will naturally increase.
That's excellent.
So, quality over quantity is always paramount.
And I agree with that. And we do, like in the practicum, we have an internal, then we have externals, like with you folks. And I have heard a lot about that in the practicum, that I
Mm,
thought this was where I needed to beef up my game. I need to start doing more quantity wise, and I totally disagree. And I said,
mm,
this, I feel like this is your training spot. This is where you want to learn as many things as you can possibly learn.
Mm.
before you go out and you are on your own. So to me, quality does trump quantity at this point. So,
That's right. And in training, we're not looking for how many files did you produce today. If you took 3 hours to do one letter, but if that letter was fantastic, well, then it's a win-win. That's great. You know,
right,
that we're not, yeah, it's just all about, learning the information, trying to retain the information too from, training session to training session. There is a lot to take on, and using the resources that we give you to be able to research the information that you need as well, is, so always a bonus. So
right.
quality is number one, definitely.
And Helen, I didn't quite understand your question, so if you could maybe type in a follow-up, the extension courses to cover which subject? That might help me out there. And Allison is asking you, that's a
Mm-hmm.
nice thing. She said she's heard wonderful things about your company. Excellent. So have I.
Mm-hmm.
How many transcriptionists approximately do you hire per year?
We don't have a set figure actually. We are always hiring. It's more that the clients that we have, we can't keep up with the amount of typists that we need. So we're recruiting basically, right around every month, every year. Yeah, there's no time where we actually stop.
Excellent. Yeah, and in my business, it was kind of the same way. I only
Mm,
had maybe 20 to 30 people that worked for me at different times, but it's like they add on another doctor, and all of a sudden you need another
that's right.
MT, or somebody had to have surgery, or somebody, went on vacation.
Yes,
So it's really
exactly.
hard, and you always want to keep ahead of the game rather than behind the game. So.
That's right, and that's my other job is looking at what's becoming overdue. Talking to the group
Right.
leaders. What are our gaps? What do we need? And then off we go in recruitment then to provide that. To the group leaders. So it works very well. The communication between everyone in senior management is excellent, and we also have an MT forum for help and support as well, that the girls do enjoy, and there's a little bit of contact there in terms of I've got a frustrating dictator, has anyone had this before, and have you got any tips, and everyone shares their experience. And if you get your first direct return to a client, it goes on the forum and everyone gives you a big high five. So that's a nice thing that we've introduced in the last few years, is our online forum. And you need to be in advance from training and in a team to be able to join that. But it's the first thing we encourage once you get advanced from training. We have probably in excess of 300, probably nearly 400 typists at the moment,
Oh,
at NTS.
excellent.
Yeah.
I like that. I like a positive forum. That is awesome. So much as said
Mm,
that's negative sometimes on these
that's right.
social media sites and things, that I think
Definitely.
that, it's a different ball game. And I think that
It is, and you
that's a
can get the wrong
positive.
educate.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can get the wrong information too. So I think having an official one, that your own company is providing, will give you the accurate information.
that's
And
excellent.
all the group leaders are on there. They can answer any of their typist questions, or give them direction. And we have a team leader that's on overnight, for our overseas typists as well.
Very good.
So the support never stops. Basically, it's 24/7. Yeah,
That's great. So you're like a parent. I'm kidding.
we are. I know.
The support never stops. Benita is asking a question about templates. Now, do you provide
Yeah.
templates for the various areas of dictation that the transcriber can access? Good question.
Okay, it is a good question. We don't provide templates ourselves at NTS. Our clients sometimes do. For instance, in immunology, we'll have a table that will come up when you open your file in immunology, and you'll have your skin prick tests and the results there that you pop it in. For instance, nephrology have another table where they put in their diagnoses and medications list in, and that's in a different font as opposed to the body of the letter. So our clients tend to make up their own templates depending on how they want their letter to be formatted. So we have our client rules as opposed to our general rules that we enforce here at NTS as well. So there's two lots we have to look at. So when we open a file, we look at our client rules first. What that overrides our general rules. If they want things a certain way, that's what we provide to them.
Great. So it's like your account specifics for each client.
Definitely, yes. And our support staff that deal with our clients set all that up for us, yes.
Right, because everybody's going to be a little bit different, and that's how it is here as well. You know, everyone, and it's always the old adage, you know, the client is always right, and however they want it,
Exactly.
that's how they get it. So,
That's right.
yeah. And Elizabeth is asking, is
Mm-hmm.
there a with the time difference, now, can an
Mm-hmm.
MT set their own hours, or do they have to be available or on during precise hours for you folks?
No, you can set your own hours any time of the day or night. So that's the
Wow,
flexibility that we offer you all. Yes, definitely.
excellent. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits of being a subcontractor or an IC,
Mm-hmm.
because it isn't like you're an employee. You don't have to show up
No,
9 to 5. And
exactly.
that was what the lure always was for me, having small children.
Mm,
And I had
yes.
a special needs child who was legally blind, and I wasn't thrilled about putting him in a lot of daycare, things like that.
No, no.
So I just wanted to be available, and I wanted to also participate in my children's young years. I didn't want to look back
Mm,
and say, 10 years later, gosh, I wish I'd spent more time with them. So it
exactly.
was a wonderful option for me that I'll always be thankful for. I'm not sure they're always thankful for it. Like when they were teenagers in high school, they wish I'd go away. But it was really an opportunity for me to have the best of both worlds, because I could go to soccer games, music programs, I could go to everything I wanted, and, show
That's
up with
right. And you still have a
cupcakes.
job at the end of the day. That's right.
Exactly. And I made a wonderful living, so that was
Yes,
excellent. Yeah.
I know. And working from home is ideal for mums. You know, we're most of our typists are mums, so we all do the school run. You know, we
Right.
got the drop off and the pick up in the afternoon. We might have soccer after school. Um, you know, the concerts, things like that, and be able to attend those things. Whereas the mums that are working in an office have to miss out on all of that, and
Right.
we don't have to feel guilty about taking that time off, because if we want to, we can make up that time in the evening for a few hours.
Exactly.
I
Right.
took an hour off, you know, such and such. Well, then I'll make that up in the evening, or I'll do extra tomorrow. It's your, you know, you're in charge of your own production. You know, it's
Exactly.
like whatever you want to earn, the sky's the limit to you. You put in the hours, you reap the rewards. It's a That's how it flows, and it can give a lot of women, you know, empower them to be more responsible for how they want to work and when they want to work, and how little and how hard they want to, you know, depending on what drives them. And
Right.
we always say, you know, it's always great to have a goal. You know, if your goal is not to make a high income or anything, have a goal based around your children. You know, do you want to give them that extra special, you know, gift at Christmas or whatever? You
Hmm.
know, that's your goal. Work towards that, and you know, work out then how many hours you would need to work to be able to provide that for your child. You know, do they need to go on camp? And, you know, that extra money would be great. You know, things like that. You need to work out what will drive you to be able to give you then the motivation to, you know, do the work, get the money, and be, you know, happy, yeah, that you can provide that for them.
Right. And I think, and it's always an individual thing because some of us, we all have different incomes. Maybe we're the sole
That's
income,
right.
maybe we're the secondary income, or maybe we're the primary and our significant other or husband or wife or whatever is our,
Yeah.
they're the secondary. So every situation is going to be different. Plus, everybody has different
Exactly.
talents. Your production is going to vary. So it makes it a little hard to
Mm,
give rules across the board where money's concerned. So I hope you folks
that's right.
understand that. And Silvana, you're asking as a contractor, would we pay taxes on our income in
Mm,
Canada and Australia?
mm. You wouldn't pay taxes on your income in Australia. No, not at all. So
Yeah.
you would only pay tax in Canada. For instance, in Australia, you are able to earn $18,000 a year before you would be eligible to pay any tax at all. So we have a tax-free threshold there. And I don't know what it is in Canada, but that would sort of be the same sort of thing, I would think, that you
Isn't
have to
that
earn a certain
funny?
amount of
Yeah.
money
And it's
before
different
then
in the
you pay
US,
tax.
right? And in the US,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
600. And then if you make more than 600, for instance, I had to always send my ICs a 1099 because
Mhm.
they had earned more than that in the year.
Oh, wow. Okay, right,
So
right.
everybody's going to be a little bit different, every country. But
That's true,
I'm
yes.
I'm with you. The only place you're going to pay taxes is where you live because that's where you're doing your
Yes,
work.
that's right. And where you're receiving the money, yes,
Right.
it's won't pay taxes in a country that you don't live in, definitely not.
Right. And Victoria is asking if you have a probationary period before you go live with actual clients.
Not at all, no. Once you get through training, that's it. No probation period. We give you certainly the stipulation that you need to do 1,000 lines a week and 20 hours a week. Most of our girls manage the 20 hours, not a problem, but you can struggle getting that 1,000 lines when you're looking at new dictators. You're trying to listen really hard as to what that tricky word is. You're making sure that we use patient demographics and they're all filled in appropriately, that you've got the right associate and you've researched the address if you need to. All that takes time. So it's going to be difficult at first for a new typist to reach those 1,000 lines a week. So we give you plenty of time to do that. So it's the expectation like that is not immediate. So we
Great.
all understand. And also, I've just had some new typists this week that have struggled in their specialty in terms of, obviously the specialties we give are what, we're seeing that we need. So, for instance, ophthalmology, there's a lot of ophthalmology at the moment. So this poor lady is doing ophthalmology day in, day out, day in, day out, and she just needs a break. And we're like, right, okay, well, let's just mix it up for you and give you a break. So what would you like? Well, you want some orthopedics? We can throw in some gem surgery. We can tweak their pools
That's
and
nice.
make them just feel, like they're just not, they're not lost and they're not getting anywhere, and they it's nice to see their confidence grow then and not being bogged down by these files that they feel that they're not getting anywhere in, So
Right.
um, we just tailor everything to the individual, which is really nice.
And some people like ophthalmology. I can tell you from personal experience, it is the
I don't.
hardest specialty I have ever done in my life. I have learned
That's
so
right.
much about it though, and with my son, it was a
Yeah.
natural draw for me, but I had
Oh,
to get a book back when in Stedman's
yeah.
because it was like entering the Twilight Zone. And
I
many
know. There's
people
so many
find it
things.
so difficult just because there's
Difficult.
so many sound alike words. that are in
There
other
is, there is.
systems. It's very complex. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. And
But
then
yes,
once you get
so
it, you
you
get
know
it.
that
Yeah. But
exactly. But it does take time, and if for someone that's trying to get those 1,000 lines a week, you can't put that pressure on them. That's just an unrealistic expectation.
right. And that's wonderful that you folks are willing to work with people.
Oh, definitely.
Sandra was
Yes.
asking if you pay by the minute
Mm.
or by the line, but it sounds to me like you're going to pay by the line because you have a quota.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right. We do.
yeah,
That's right. Yes. Being a production based, it's, yeah, paid by the line. That's
that's
right. There
great.
is a wonderful document on our website too called Working with NTS.
Hmm.
So we do encourage you to read that, and you can just read that just for your own information. Just make a coffee and sit down and have a read of it. It talks about what we expect from our typists and how it's run. Talks about QA and what that involves, and yeah, and what your computer requirements are. That our software run on. So that's a nice handy document for anyone to read just for some more information.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. And Victoria makes a point about Canada being multicultural, and I think that's true as well, even of the US nowadays. I mean, it's become just commonplace. We have so many Asians, so many um,
I know.
Eastern
Same here.
Indian
Yes.
dictators. It's it,
You do,
and
yes. I'm getting quite a lot of English as a second language girls come through, and we don't
wow.
discriminate at all. Questions are not asked about anything like that. We take everyone on face value according to their application, and training then is for any difficulties there to be ironed out. We have quite a few ESL girls that are managing quite well, yes. They may have to work a little bit harder on the grammar, but in most cases, they're managing really well. Mm.
Well, and I was speaking of my ESL. Maybe I misunderstood Victoria's comment, but
Mm.
for me, ESL dictators can always be a challenge. And over the years, a lot of people that I have tried to hire, they would say to me, I don't do ESL. And I would say, well, thank you for your interest, but it was nice knowing you because the reality
Oh,
of it
yes.
is there are so many foreign
Yes.
dictators nowadays, and you don't even have to be foreign. That's another thing.
No.
I do Southern US dictation every single day, and I refer to that as English as a Southern language because it is one of the most difficult accents that there is to conquer. And so
Yes.
if we said that, just East Indians were bad or, Asian
Mm.
dictators or Hispanic dictators, it isn't so because you can have
Mm.
Americans, you can have English, you can have Australian, you can have anybody that's just
Exactly.
difficult because you haven't learned that, you haven't trained your ear yet. And
That's
so,
right. And it's all
yeah.
just about the ear.
It
Yeah,
is
yeah.
because anybody
Mm.
can be difficult on a given day.
Oh,
So,
definitely. Yes,
yeah,
we've got mumblers, we've got dictators that talk as if they've got marbles in their mouth. We've got all sorts. But then with our difficult dictators, they're spread across the board. So
right.
we all share the difficult dictators. We don't. We don't segregate them to certain people or anything like that. They're all shared equally because we all have our tricky ones and our easy ones. So
Sure.
it's all very evenly based. And as I said, some of our difficult dictators become your favourite ones.
They
So
do.
you'll find that most of the difficult ones repeat themselves. So they'll have phrases, and once you get that, they say that in every letter. The
Exactly.
examination paragraph will always be the same terms and phrases. So these are things you can add to your, text expander, and this is how you build on those difficult dictators. Yeah.
Right. And then you're set. Now, do you do a lot of straight transcription, the whole report, or do you do a lot of editing reports?
Okay. We only do straight transcription, so everything is
Wow.
from scratch.
Wow.
Yeah. We don't have
Cool.
any voice recognition. We don't have any editing at all to do. So
Wow.
it's all yeah, the doctor dictates on his dictaphone or whatever device he wants to
Very
use.
good.
It comes straight through to us, and we type it from scratch. Yeah.
And just so everyone knows,
Mm.
usually that is paid more than speech rec. Speech rec, you really take a pay cut because they figure that you are doing less work. In my humble
So
opinion,
you just like QAing, yeah.
speech rec is 10 times harder because you have to sit there and you have to analyze every single word. Yes, you don't type as much, but you think probably 100 times more. And so,
Mm.
some people really like editing, and that's another criterion that you have to come up with on your own. What is it that you want
Mm.
to do, or try it, see if this is something you like. And again, that's when your text expander is going to be your best friend. Now,
Exactly. Yeah.
Deborah is asking, should we
Hmm.
wait until we finish our practicum and get our final marks before applying to your company?
Yes, that is preferable. I do ask for your final exam marks,
Oh, good.
and sometimes I ask where you've done your practicum as well. As in all companies, we like to take the cream of the crop. So the final exam marks are very important, and I do look at them, and I do look at the breakdown, definitely.
Good. And I think, Ria, we were already talking about that. You can choose your own hours once you are,
Definitely,
taken into the
yes.
fold. You're going to be able to,
Yes,
just as long as you meet your quota, that's all you need to worry about. And Cheryl
exactly.
is asking us about, did I
Mhm.
murder that again, Cheryl? I apologize. It might be Cheryl. Um, I can't remember. Sorry, old lady-itis moment. She's asking for our favorite word expanders. I have mine, but what are yours, Kathy?
At the moment, the big flavour of the month is ITP.
And
With
what is
us,
that?
we have one. Well, we have a typist that's our guru that she can basically teach you in ITP. It's an instant text expander. That's the
Oh,
ITP comes from.
cool. That's mine. I
And you,
love it. Oh,
yes, yes, and a lot of our trainers are even putting being able to save their feedback and using that instead of typing, the same sort of feedback day in, day out. They're able to put it in their text expander and just hit, a button, and there it pops in. So comments, things like that, it's very handy for us in training. Yes.
well, and I know the course we offer Phrase Express, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
totally, you have to build it yourself. It's more
Mm-hmm.
like if you remember Word and auto text, it's exactly that way.
Yes.
And the problem for me with Phrase Express, when I even did the video, it took me 7 times to do the video because it would
Mm-hmm.
not expand. Every time I got to the point where in the video I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now hit this key, boom, it would not do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I like shorthand. There's another one called Fast Fox. I use instant text, and it
That's
has been a
right.
godsend for me. But I like them because they have built-in
Mm,
dictionaries. They have words, they have phrases,
definitely.
and
That's right.
ITP even has a drug dictionary. So
Yes, they do.
I think it's
Definitely.
invaluable. So,
But for our new our new trainees, they've just gotten into a team. Um, Inscribe have their own auto text, and I encourage them to start just using that at first, even because if they haven't used any sort of text expander before, auto text is a great little one to, and it's free, so they're not having to put any money out
sure,
straight away,
right.
and you can save quite a lot. It's part of Inscribe. You can add to your new dictionary there. And it works really well for some girls are still only using auto text. It's a personal thing. Text expanders, what works for you, what doesn't. There are lots out there for you to trial. Not everyone's using ITP at NTS. Others have different ones that they prefer to use. So it's a personal preference. But at the beginning, the auto text that's built into Inscribe is certainly going to help as well, in saving time with
Right.
typing, just for someone to get used to that to start with, and then they can then expand on that,
Yeah.
with buying something else later on, as a tool to make them more successful.
Right. And I have mentioned this to several people who found it a little bit overwhelming to try and start
Hmm.
using a word expander in their transcriptions.
Oh,
And it is
exactly.
just like any tool. Like, for instance, if I was going to start calligraphy, I would
Mm.
set aside time to learn that tool. I would not try to just jump in and do a project.
No, not in the
So,
middle of when you're trying to work.
right.
Yeah, so you
So
you
you
use
want
your
to,
downtime.
right.
Yeah, and you can
Exactly.
add phrases in and things like that. Um, it's really interesting at NTS because we do have access to prior transcriptions with clients with an active database. So we can actually go to a prior transcription and grab, like in your downtime, grab words and phrases that you want to put into your text expander too for that particular specialty. So,
Excellent.
so you don't have to wait for a file that you're typing on to actually add anything. You can go into priors and grab some words there to add. So
That's
that's another
excellent. Um,
helpful tip. Yeah.
and Helen is asking if you have additional training for terminology in Australia or grammatical forms.
Um, we we have one medical terminology company called Talent Med in Australia, and I don't know much about them. They haven't been up for very long, and I think we got one graduate from them the other day that just applied,
Hmm.
off her own bat, and did really well in training. But we don't offer a medical terminology course ourselves. We would either recommend one of the ones that are out there available. Um, so that's something that is a prerequisite, before we would be able to hire anyone, would be that you need to have medical terminology. And and setting aside from the criteria that's on the website at the moment, we will take anyone with a certificate showing that they've done their medical terminology course. So we will give them a trial in our training program,
Hmm.
because some of them have turned out to be absolutely brilliant, and
Right.
that's all that they've done. They haven't had any prior industry experience,
Right.
but they've been, and sometimes getting them so new as well, we can train them in exactly what we want and what we require too. There's no old ways of doing things that they have to let go of or anything like
Right.
that. They come with this blank sort of um, blank sheet that we can then, mold them and train them to how we want them to be. So,
Hmm.
we
Very
found
good.
that that's working out really well as well. Yeah.
That's open-minded. I like that. And
I think you
Benita,
have to be these days.
you
Mm.
do. We do sometimes. And well, for instance, I did not take any programs at all. I basically just started off in an office, and then I
Yes.
took the initiative to go apply at a hospital, and they trained me on the job and just kept giving me more and more and more and more. And
Yep.
I devoured medical dictionaries because we didn't have the computers
Yes.
and things like that back then. So
No, we just all had our books, didn't we, that
we
we
did.
relied on for
We
tricky
did.
words and stuff. Yeah.
And I picked it up because I was very good at language and I was good at,
Mm-hmm.
typing. So it was a
That's
win-win
right.
for me, but I think that's good.
Yeah.
And Benita is asking, what has been the greatest
Mhm.
challenge in your career and how did you overcome it?
Greatest challenge for me. Well, I started off having a 2-year-old at home. So that was a huge challenge in terms of the constant interruptions I had. And here I am trying to make a go of this new job working from home. I remember even typing the word full stop
Yes, yes.
instead of just putting it in. And my group leader said, I'm a bit concerned. And I'm like, oh, I thought I even proof checked this file, and I didn't even pick it up.
Oh,
So once he went to kindy and further on, then obviously she knew when he was at kindy because my quality was so great. And then when he was home from kindy, she could see the difference, you know, when she was checking my
Oh,
work. So,
funny.
but you know, yeah, they stuck with me. You know, it's we all know we've all got kids. We've all yeah. It's just one of those things, and we just do the best we can, and it's obviously paid off for me.
Very well.
And certainly in senior management, there are other challenges as well. You know, my communication skills with my team are always developing, obviously, and being a manager, it has its own challenges as well. But I love the continuing learning and education that I'm getting from this job. There's always something that I learn every day. And
Hmm.
whether it's just how to handle things a bit better the next time I get, you know, this problem, or you know, patting myself on the back saying that was a job well done today, you know. I just feel I'm growing all the time, which is really good. Yeah.
And that's MT work in general. I think that's why I've stuck with it because I love medicine,
Mm,
but I get too involved and I get too emotional about things and I can't stand the sight of blood. So it was a nice,
mm,
opportunity for me to give something back to and be part of an industry that I really like and I'm super interested in. And I feel like we
exactly.
do a tremendous service to the medical community. So, and it's always
I
changing.
agree.
So I think that's
It
important.
is. That's right. Yeah, exactly.
And Victoria is asking if you folks have accounts in New Zealand as well, or just Australia.
No, we just have Australian clients. We do have New Zealand typists, and a couple of our group leaders are in New Zealand.
Oh,
But they're all Australian clients. We've got most of the major hospitals in Australia, as well as individual specialists. Um, and I don't think there's too many hospitals left we haven't actually got accounts of. So, and when I say hospitals, I mean every single department in that hospital as
oh
well.
wow.
So it's
Excellent.
when we get a big client like that, there's a lot of typists we need to then set up, you know,
Oh yes.
for the different areas. And the biggest one we've got lately has been Westmead Hospital, which is our big cancer institute in Australia, in Sydney. And we've got a team of typists just for oncology for that particular hospital and two mentors to help those girls. So it's, you know, we just put out all the stops. You know, if we get a big client like that, we provide everything that that client needs, and the quality then doesn't suffer because we have our support networks in place.
Very good. Well, folks, we're almost at the end of our time. If I have missed any questions, most of them were about pay rates, and we really don't go into that on webinars, simply for the reason that things change every day. If we quoted a line rate or we quoted money rate, that could change, and then we would have folks coming back at us going, "Hey, but Audrey, you said." So that is why we avoid those questions very deftly. I'm sorry. But I do know that document is there working with NTS, and that should help answer any
Mm-hmm.
questions you have. Basically, I think what Kathy said was you're going to have a minimum of 1,000 lines per week, or you're going to make your 20 hours per week. And I think that's completely doable for any of you folks. So, just I would go with the knowledge that it is a great opportunity for you folks. Apply and see where the wind takes you. That's all any of us can ever do. We start out our career and we decide if we fit here, and if we don't fit here, then we do something different. But for the most part, I've had nothing but great experiences in the jobs that I've had, and they have been just great stepping stones to the next level. So, Kathy, I
Mm.
can't thank you enough for coming on so early in the day and giving us so much information. I think
My
that
pleasure.
your company sounds wonderful. I'm tempted to apply myself.
It is lovely.
if I had extra time. I see it would be
Yes,
up to my earlobes and things to do. But, and if you
yeah.
folks, if I missed any questions, please just look at my email up top and feel free to send me an email and I'll ask Kathy if I can't answer it, okay? But I think you guys sound like you have a wonderful group of people, and I think
We do, we do.
any of you folks would be just absolutely thrilled to work for a company like that. So, anyways, I will bid you all adieu. And if you do have questions, don't hesitate to let me know. And thank you again, Kathy.
Thank you, pleasure.
Okay, everyone have a great day today. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye bye.